I'm Christina,
And I'm Michael.
and we're reading The Gum Gatherer by Robert Frost.
It's a great poem.
So, Michael, explain to me what the poem's about.
Well, I'd be happy to. The poem is about a man and a man that lives on a mountain, and there's another man that also lives on a mountain, and he's a gum gatherer. And a gum gatherer is someone that collects the resin of trees. And so the poem talks about a man who envies the life of a gum gatherer.
Why do you think he is envious of the gum gatherer? What part of the poem makes you think that?
The gum gatherer uses a lot of diction and imagery that creates this sense of easiness and just a very simple lifestyle. So he uses words like stride and swinging and words that make you think of a relaxing, calm day that creates this world that's a little bit easier it's an easier life. And so this man that's walking around following a gum gatherer envies his life. I just wanted to know what maybe you thought about.
I agree. The very last line of the poem especially brings me to that idea that says, and bring it to market when you please. So it's kind of like no stress or responsibility. You can do it when you want to. It's like your own life, and you can take it one step at a time.
Right.
And he also says things like, on line 34, I told him this is a pleasant life, to set your breast to the bark of trees, that all your days are dim beneath, and so on and so on.
Right.
And it's like, it's a pleasant life. It's not anything wrong with it. It's something he kind of envies.
And I think he parallels that by juxtaposing it with, in approximately line 22 through 25-ish, where he talks about the problems that trouble the sleep of the lumber folk. It says visions of half the world burned black and the sun shrunken yellow in smoke. So he's talking about comparing the gum gatherer's life to the normal life of these so-called lumber folk. Their lives are filled with stress, visions of a world that burned black. It's pretty scary. Do
you think he's a lumber folk himself, and that
yes,
he's
I do.
Part of the group that's envious, and that's why?
Yeah, I think that since he shares their lifestyle, the stressed out, anxious life of worrying about this and that, where the gum gatherer is just easygoing.
It's interesting because another thing on line 13, he says he came from higher up in the pass, which higher up usually in society is someone that has things easier going for them or has a better lifestyle. So I think that Frost was using that, saying that the gum gatherers have an easier and better lifestyle than those of the lumber folk.
So, how do you think Frost's experience, having lived in the hustle and bustle of the city, influenced his writing of this poem?
I think he almost envied the life of people that lived in the country area, and so he kind of dreamed about it often. And I think that's why he kind of wrote about it more commonly, because he didn't tend to be in that area, and he was surrounded by more of the city life. So I think that because of that, but that life is actually kind of busier in a way if you think about it, kind of like the lumber folk. So maybe he's saying the life of the people in the country, kind of like the gum gatherers, is easier going. He envies them in his own way.
So clearly there's a lot of envy and jealousy going around here.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think the fulcrum was placed where it was, and what's the importance of it?
Yeah, well, I think the fulcrum, which comes in around line 19 through 20, where I start talking about the gum gatherer's shack being stolen rather than him building it. I think that's that's the first part where you really see his envy coming into play, where you really see how he really wants that lifestyle for himself. Mm-hmm. He assumes that it's stolen because he thinks that his life is so easy and perfect that there's no way he could have built that himself.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes the tone change from this is how great his life is into look at how bad my life is.
Mm-hmm. And as that happens, like the alliteration seems to come on more, like stolen shack and fears of fire. So it's like the point is getting across more in like a sharp tone, and it's building up and building up as he's like the trouble, the sleep of lumberfolk, and visions of the half the world burned black, which is burned black is another one. And then it's compared with a contrasting color almost, and it says, and the sun shrunk in yellow and smoke. And there's a big contrast between the colors of black and yellow, which one is very bright and one's dark, and it seems like the darkness is overcoming it, almost like his envy is overcoming him in this moment.
Okay, so what do you think the significance of the imagery in line 31 through 33 was?
Okay, well, it says, like uncut jewels, dull and rough, which uncut jewels tend to be more valuable because they haven't been, like, tainted with or messed with yet. And dull and rough kind of makes it sound like it's not that metallic or shiny, like it lacks luster, but that's actually when it's in its purest form. And it's weird because it says it comes to market in golden brown, which gold is something valuable, like it's bright and shiny, and then brown is usually like dirt.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird how it's something valuable yet worthless at the same time. And then it turns to pink between the teeth, which is another contrasting color, and it's bright and it's more fun in a way. So it's almost like he's saying, although it doesn't seem that valuable, it is valuable to him, and it like brings upon its own thing in a way.
I think that's great. Yeah, because it's contrasting the uncut jewels, which is typically a good thing, to the dull and rough, which is not a good thing, and the golden to the which is good, to the brown, which is bad. So yeah, it's all about perception here. But clearly the narrator sees it from both points of view. He sees how it's an uncut jewel, and he also sees how it's dull and rough. It's a rustic lifestyle.
It's like a diamond in the rough. It's something that doesn't seem to be that important as a gum gatherer, yet it's important to him, apparently, and how he lives his life. So what do you think the importance of the title The Gum Gatherer is?
Well, I think that the word gatherer infers a very simple, easy, not very stressful occupation. 10,000 years ago, in hunter-gatherer societies, the gathering was typically seen as the easiest thing to do because your food doesn't run away from you. It was a very simple occupation.
Mm-hmm.
So, it rather than saying the gum harvester or the gum processor, or they say gum gatherer, which makes it seem like it's an easy life.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, gatherer is also like not really in a food sense. It's like bringing people together or bringing ideas together. So it's almost like he's bringing together something else in a way rather than just like taking something, like he's taking the sap or the gum from the tree and stuff. He's gathering it, and it's more of like an easy process, and it's like it's more easygoing, just like the gum gatherer himself is. So it's like his job kind of portrays who he is, which is why Robert Frost wrote about it so specifically, because he wishes he had that kind of easy lifestyle in a way, in my opinion.
I think that's dead on.
Great poem, guys!